Ever felt that profound gut punch? The insidious sting of being dismissed, overlooked, or worse, explicitly rejected simply for being you? It's a feeling that resonates deep within, a burning indignation that coils in your stomach, a pervasive sense of unfairness that settles heavy on your shoulders. You perceive the subtle, almost imperceptible shift in the air, the way a space suddenly constricts around you when someone, often with unthinking casualness, decides you don't quite belong, that your presence is an anomaly they need to correct. We've all been there, haven't we? It's a weight, a suffocating cloud, a quiet, relentless erosion of your spirit that, over time, can diminish even the brightest inner light. It whispers doubts, fuels insecurities, and can make you question your very right to occupy space, to demand respect, to exist unapologetically. But what if I told you that in those very moments, precisely when the world tries to shrink you, you hold a quiet, potent power, a power often underestimated, rarely taught, yet universally accessible. It's a power to subtly, yet decisively, turn the tables, not with the raw, volatile energy of shouting, not with the corrosive heat of anger, but with something far more potent, far more strategic, and ultimately far more dignified. The chilling clarity of purpose, the irrefutable strength of meticulous documentation, and the surprise reveal of undeniable, unassailable competence. This isn't about mere confrontation, it's about orchestration, a ballet of quiet authority. Imagine this vivid scene unfolding before your eyes: a packed, high end restaurant, its atmosphere thick with hushed conversations, and the almost reverent clink of polished silverware against porcelain. Every detail, from the ambient lighting to the low murmur of sophisticated patronage, speaks of exclusivity and meticulous service. A manager, impeccably dressed in a bespoke suit, glides through the room. His posture exudes an effortless authority, but his eyes carry a subtle, dismissive arrogance as he surveys his domain. He moves with practiced grace, a master of his meticulously curated environment. He approaches your table, or more accurately, the conspicuously empty space where your table should be. He speaks, his voice a hushed, patronizing tone that suggests an intimate secret, a minor misunderstanding on your part, subtly implying that you are fundamentally out of place, perhaps a little confused, certainly not a regular in such esteemed circles. He has already decided your story, written your ending, categorized you, and neatly filed you away in a box labeled "Not Important." Then, almost imperceptibly, something shifts. The very air seems to thicken with an unspoken tension, because three calm, precisely articulated words, delivered with a quiet resolve, are followed by a precise reference to a hotel policy, verbatim, recalled with unnerving accuracy, and then the unmistakable glint of a significant company badge, worn not by you, but by someone entirely unexpected, a figure of undeniable authority who has just entered the scene. This combination, clarity, policy, and the surprise reveal of who you truly are, just flipped his entire night, perhaps even his carefully cultivated career trajectory. With the quiet force of a tidal wave, this isn't about petty revenge. It's about reclaiming dignity, demanding justice, and initiating the precise, quiet step that can dramatically flip a multi-million-dollar deal, redirecting its course with unforeseen consequences for those who underestimated. In less than 24 hours, accountability can be powerfully established in a hotel lobby simply by knowing precisely when, how, and with whom to speak truth to power. This isn't just a hypothetical, it's a testament to the quiet force of prepared resolve. Allow me to introduce you to Dr. Anya Sharma. Her story, in its initial premise, is tragically not unique. mirroring countless experiences of those who navigate subtle yet pervasive biases. Yet it becomes extraordinary, a testament to resilience and strategy in its deeply satisfying ending. Anya is an undeniable force, a brilliant, innovative mind at the forefront of sustainable technology. She possesses a rare combination of scientific acumen, entrepreneurial spirit, and a visionary's foresight. But to a world still grappling with entrenched biases and narrow definitions of success, sometimes she is simply other. Her ethnicity, her gender, her quiet intensity, all are elements that, to some, unconsciously trigger preconceptions, casting her into a category of outsiders. One crisp, late Thursday evening, Anya arrived at the Obsidian, a restaurant famously renowned for its exclusivity, its hushed sophistication, and its impeccable, if sometimes overly selective, clientele. It was nestled within the gilded confines of a prestigious downtown hotel, a beacon of luxury and high society. She held a reservation, meticulously confirmed not once but twice, a crucial detail for what was slated to be the most pivotal dinner meeting of her career thus far. Her potential investors represented the pinnacle of global venture capital, their backing capable of reshaping her burgeoning company, Sustainable Innovations Group. The deal on the table promised a multi-billion-dollar impact, poised to revolutionize a significant segment of the global energy market, pivoting towards sustainable, ethical solutions. The stakes, as anyone could discern, were astronomically high. But the precise moment her carefully chosen designer heels touched the polished marble floor near the host stand, she felt it. That invisible, yet utterly palpable wall. It wasn't a physical barrier, but an atmospheric one, a chill that seeped into the otherwise warm, inviting ambiance. The host, a young man whose perpetually bored expression seemed etched onto his face, barely registered her presence. His eyes, heavy lidded and distant, swept over the waiting guests, avoiding hers with practiced indifference. Reservation, he droned, his voice flat, devoid of any genuine inquiry, without even the courtesy of looking up from his polished reservation tablet. Anya, dressed in her meticulously chosen business attire, a smart tailored jumpsuit that spoke of understated power, her dark hair pulled back into a sleek professional bun that framed her intelligent face, gave her name with her usual clear cadence. Sharma, Dr. Anya Sharma, party of 3, 7:30 p.m. She enunciated each syllable, allowing no room for misinterpretation. The host, after a performative scroll through his digital records, shook his head with a slight, almost imperceptible smirk playing on his lips. It was a facial tic Anya knew all too well, a harbinger of the familiar narrative about to unfold. "I'm afraid," he began, his tone dripping with a faint politeness that barely masked his condescension. "I don't see anything for a Sharma at 7:30. Perhaps you're thinking of another establishment. We are, as you can see, quite busy tonight." He gestured vaguely to the bustling room, implying her oversight, her mistake. A familiar heat, not yet anger, began to rise in Anya's chest. It was more like a dull, aching throb of weary recognition, a deep-seated frustration born of countless similar encounters. This wasn't a simple oversight, a genuine mistake in booking. This was a dismissal, a quiet, insidious act of erasure. But she didn't show it, not outwardly. Her face remained a mask of professional calm, her voice perfectly even, her posture unwavering, a testament to years of training herself to respond with composure, not emotional reaction. "I assure you," she stated, her words measured and firm, "I have a reservation, confirmed just this morning with your concierge, Miss Jenkins." The host finally lifted his gaze, his eyes sweeping over her quickly, then dismissing her with a glance that lingered too long on her dark skin, her unfamiliar name, before settling back on his tablet. "Look, ma'am," he said, the politeness now entirely gone, replaced by a thinly veiled impatience. "We're fully booked tonight. We often have issues with names like yours in the system. Sometimes they don't quite register properly. Perhaps we can squeeze you in for a bar seat an hour or two from now, if something opens up." He offered the concession with a tone that suggested she should be grateful for even this meager crumb. This, Anya knew, was the common mistake, the insidious trap that ensnared so many. It was the moment where one accepts a false narrative, internalizes the implied inferiority, and retreats, feeling small and diminished, allowing the injustice to fester. Many, in that moment of public humiliation, would simply turn and leave, their shoulders slumped, their spirit bruised. Some might argue perhaps for a fleeting minute, a futile attempt to assert their right, before the sting of perceived prejudice became too sharp, too unbearable, forcing a retreat. But Anya knew better. She wasn't merely here for a casual dinner. She was here for her future, for the future of her dedicated team, for the groundbreaking technology she championed. She was here for dignity, for the principle that competence, not bias, should dictate access. She took a deep centering breath, a subtle intake of air that was barely visible but served as an anchor in the rising storm of injustice. Her mind, with the precision of a well-oiled machine, went to her meticulously crafted justice prep ritual. It was a quiet, private moment she always carved out for herself in the sanctuary of her car, just before entering any potentially high-stakes, high-pressure environment. In those moments, she would consciously straighten her shoulders, reminding her body of its inherent strength, recall her overriding purpose, not just the deal, but the principles it represented, and calmly remind herself of the profound, almost disruptive power of unwavering calm. She had mentally rehearsed specific phrases, rehearsing them until they felt natural, effortless. Phrases like, "I would like to speak with a manager," and "I'd like to see a copy of your establishment's policy on reservations and guest disputes." She hadn't expected to need it tonight, not for this particular meeting, but she was ready, always ready. Preparation was her shield, her sword, and her silent declaration of intent. "I appreciate the offer," Anya said, her voice clear, steady, cutting through the host's dismissive drone with an almost clinical precision. "But I specifically reserved a table for a crucial business dinner. This is the correct date, the correct time. The reservation was made weeks ago and confirmed again this morning." She paused, then added, her tone holding a subtle, strategic nuance. "Would you mind checking under Sustainable Innovations Group as well? That might be linked to the booking, as it's a corporate account." The host sighed dramatically, a theatrical display of his perceived inconvenience, then scrolled through his tablet again, performing a show of diligence without actual intent. He was going through the motions, clearly expecting to find nothing to justify his initial dismissal. He paused. Then his eyes widened ever so slightly, a crack appearing in his board facade. "Ah, yes, I see a Sustainable Innovations Group." His voice shifted, but not in apology, rather in a renewed surge of condescension. "But it's for a private dining room, Ms. Sharma. You can't just walk in here and expect that. This isn't that kind of place." His tone was laced with an unmistakable implication. A private dining room in this establishment was clearly beyond her station, an expectation she shouldn't even dare to harbor, let alone be present in the main dining area. He gestured vaguely towards the back, where the discreet entrances to the exclusive private rooms were situated. "You'll have to wait. The private room isn't ready, and your guests are not here yet. This is for VIPs. You understand?" That was the line. The blatant disregard for her status, the implied inferiority, the casual reassertion of a discriminatory hierarchy, the quiet courtroom inside Anya's head, where she meticulously processed and categorized every interaction, instantly sprang to order, its internal gavel striking with silent finality. I understand, Anya said, her voice dropping slightly, now holding an edge of tempered steel that was almost imperceptible to the casual ear, yet resonated with undeniable authority. However, my reservation clearly states 7:30 p.m. It is now 7:35 p.m., and I am indeed a VIP, Mr. She paused, her eyes briefly flicking to his name tag. Mr. Thomas, as the CEO and lead representative of Sustainable Innovations Group, I am here for a high-level corporate meeting. Her gaze held his, unwavering. I would like to speak with your manager immediately. And please, she added, her voice now crisp and commanding, have my private dining room prepared. My guests, who are global investors, will be arriving any moment. I expect the standard of service this hotel chain claims to uphold. The host, flustered and visibly unnerved by her sudden shift in demeanor and her precise, unyielding demands, mumbled something incoherent and scurried off, retreating behind the polished host's stand, casting anxious glances in her direction. Moments later, a man in a crisply tailored dark suit, Manager David, glided over. His practiced, insincere smile was already plastered on his face, an artificial veneer that belied the dismissive quality in his eyes, which mirrored the host's. He had clearly been briefed, a hurried, biased summary that reinforced his preconceptions. Ms. Sharma, he began, his voice smooth, an oily balm designed to placate. I understand there's been a slight misunderstanding. We have a very strict policy regarding our private dining rooms, and we simply cannot accommodate walk-ins for such exclusive spaces without prior arrangement. He emphasized walk-ins with a subtle demeaning inflection, further reinforcing the narrative that she was an interloper, an unexpected and unwelcome imposition. Anya met his gaze directly, her posture erect, her presence commanding. Mr. David, she countered, her voice retaining its steady, calm register, yet imbued with an unshakable conviction. I am not a walk-in. I have a confirmed reservation, made weeks in advance, and reconfirmed this morning. Furthermore, I was just informed by your host that my private room is indeed available, merely not ready. Which means, Mr. David, it is available. My guests, as you can imagine, are expecting me, and they are expecting a certain level of professionalism from this establishment, which is, I believe, a cornerstone of your hotel's esteemed brand, part of the Grand Vista Hotel's reputation. She paused, allowing her words to sink in, then added with chilling, almost surgical calm, policy beats ego, Mr. David, and your corporate policy, as I recall distinctly from my previous stays at other hotels within this very chain, guarantees a confirmed reservation, irrespective of perceived status. As she spoke, Anya subtly pulled out her smartphone, not to scroll through social media or send a message, but to discreetly activate her audio recorder. Silence is evidence. Record. Report. This wasn't about public confrontation, about creating a scene. This was about collecting irrefutable data, establishing a clear documented record of the interaction. Her calm, steady voice was her most potent justice tool, far more effective and devastating than any raised word or outburst of anger. Her eyes, cool and analytical, flickered briefly to the hotel's prominent embossed logo on the manager's lapel. It was the recognizable emblem of the Grand Vista Hotels chain. She knew that. And more importantly, she knew their corporate policies, their brand promises, their service guarantees, all meticulously researched as part of her routine preparedness. Manager David's practiced smile tightened, a barely perceptible tremor at the corners of his mouth. He wasn't accustomed to guests challenging him with such composure, such precise terminology, let alone mentioning corporate policy with such unwavering confidence. He clearly expected her to either explode in frustration or retreat in humiliation. Neither happened. Her quiet confidence, her knowledge of the system, visibly rattled him. "With all due respect, Miss Sharma," he stammered, attempting to regain control of the narrative. "Our private dining rooms are reserved for very specific high profile clients. We need to maintain a certain decorum, a particular ambiance. I'm simply asking for your understanding in this unfortunate situation." He emphasized decorum with a pointed gaze, as if she inherently, by her very presence, lacked the requisite breeding or sophistication to understand such exclusive nuances. This was the moment. The unspoken line had been unequivocally crossed, the subtle bias now manifest in overt discrimination. Anya felt a quiet resolve solidify within her. "My understanding, Mr. David," Anya replied, her voice remaining low, steady, a controlled force, "is that I have a reservation. My understanding is that your Grand Vista corporate policy states a confirmed reservation guarantees a table, or in this case, a private dining room. My understanding, furthermore, is that decorum applies equally to all guests, irrespective of your personal, subjective assessment of their profile or background." Her words were like precise surgical cuts, each one landing with deliberate impact, dismantling his flimsy justifications. "I'd like a copy of your guest reservation policy and your policy regarding the denial of service for confirmed bookings, and I'd like them now, please. I am also making a note of this conversation, including the time and your exact statements regarding my profile and decorum." Manager David hesitated, visibly unnerved. The air in the reception area felt heavy, charged with unspoken tension. The staff behind the host stand, who had been pretending with varying degrees of success not to listen, were now subtly watching, their gazes darting between Anya and their flustered manager. He was caught, exposed. He couldn't possibly produce a policy document that supported his discriminatory behavior, because such a policy, in a reputable chain, simply didn't exist. He stammered, his polished composure finally crumbling. I I can get you one, but it will take some time. Perhaps you could just wait at the bar, and I'll see what I can do." "No, thank you," Anya replied, a sliver of disappointment lacing her voice, not for herself, but for the moral compromise she saw in the establishment. "I will wait right here, as my guests will be arriving imminently, and I will wait for that policy document, and I will expect my private dining room to be ready and prepared for their arrival." Her resolve was absolute, her position unyielding. Just then, as if on cue, two figures of unmistakable gravitas appeared at the grand restaurant entrance, their arrival commanding an immediate, if subtle, shift in the room's energy. A tall, distinguished man with an impressive mane of silver hair, radiating an aura of quiet power, Mr. Alastair Finch, entered first. Beside him, a sharp, impeccably dressed woman, Miss Lena Petrova, exuded an intelligent, no-nonsense efficiency. They were Anya's investors, the global heads of a formidable venture capital firm, renowned for their strategic investments and their powerful influence. And crucially, more importantly for the unfolding drama, Mr. Finch was not just a major investor in countless ventures, but also a significant, foundational shareholder in the very conglomerate that owned the entire Grand Vista Hotels chain. Manager David, his attention now diverted, his eyes lighting up with professional recognition, immediately transformed. His practiced smile returned, this time genuine, laced with an almost fawning deference. The artificiality of moments prior melted away, replaced by an authentic eagerness to please. "Mr. Finch, Miss Petrova, welcome, sir, madam. We've been expecting you. Your private dining room is, of course, ready and waiting. He gestured expansively, with a sweeping, almost theatrical flourish, towards the discreet entrance at the back, completely ignoring Anya, who stood just feet away. Mr. Finch, however, did not move immediately towards the beckoning private room. He paused, his sharp gaze scanning the elegant room, taking in the scene. He spotted Anya, standing with an unshakable poise near the hostess stand, her expression calm despite the visible tension around her. A warm, genuine smile broadened on his face. Anya, my dear, there you are. We thought we might be early, but it seems you beat us. Here, Manager David, he said, turning his attention, with a subtle yet powerful shift, to the now beaming manager. I trust you've taken excellent care of Dr. Sharma, ensured her every comfort? The quiet courtroom inside Anya's head went utterly silent. The entire bank lobby, it seemed, held its breath, frozen in the unfolding realization. Manager David's face, in that split second, went from fawning deference to utter, gut-wrenching horror. His eyes, wide with a dawning terror, darted frantically between Anya, whom he had so casually dismissed, and the formidable Mr. Finch. He swallowed hard, the sound almost audible in the sudden hush. The CEO badge of his corporate owner, metaphorically speaking, had just been flipped, not by Anya, but by the very man he sought to impress. The identity he'd so arrogantly, so carelessly dismissed was not just a guest. She was a principal, a valued partner, an equal in power and influence, and most devastatingly, she was their guest, the reason these VIPs were even present. Dr. Sharma, Manager David stammered, his composure completely shattered, his voice thin with disbelief and dread. The realization crashed over him, cold and hard. He finally understood. This wasn't just a business meeting. This was the business meeting. A multi-billion-dollar deal, the kind that made or broke reputations, was on the table, and he had just risked it all with his petty, deeply ingrained prejudice. His casual arrogance had not merely insulted a guest, it had potentially jeopardized a cornerstone relationship for his hotel, his chain, and perhaps his own career. Anya simply offered Mr. Finch a small, polite, yet undeniably potent smile. Her expression was serene, devoid of any triumphalism or malice, which only amplified the manager's agony. Mr. Finch, Miss Petrova, I apologize for the slight delay in our seating. There appears to have been a minor misunderstanding regarding my reservation and the immediate availability of the private dining room. Manager David here, she said, her voice neutral, almost disarmingly calm, was just explaining the hotel's very specific policy on guest service and how it applies to confirmed bookings. Her tone was utterly devoid of malice, yet the implication, delivered with such quiet authority, was devastating. A silent guillotine blade falling on the manager's career. Mr. Finch's eyes, usually sparkling with a benevolent warmth, narrowed almost imperceptibly as he fixed his gaze on Manager David. His voice, typically rich and jovial, turned to ice, each word cutting through the strained silence. Manager David, he stated, his authority radiating through the space. If there's any misunderstanding regarding Dr. Sharma's welcome here, I assure you, it will be clarified and rectified immediately. Dr. Sharma is not just a guest. She is the CEO of Sustainable Innovations Group, a company we are incredibly proud to partner with. Her comfort and respect, as well as the successful execution of this crucial meeting, are absolutely paramount to us. He then turned back to Anya, his expression softening considerably. Anya, my sincere apologies for any inconvenience or discomfort you've experienced. Please, let's proceed to our private room. There's much to discuss. The entire room wasn't just quiet now. It was holding its breath, a collective gasp of silent judgment directed at the manager. Manager David stood frozen, a statue of profound regret, his face pale, his arrogance having crumbled into dust. The day the badge flipped, his unthinking ego, his casual prejudice had just cost him, and potentially the hotel, dearly. Anya, with a serene dignity that was almost unnerving in its quiet power, walked calmly alongside Mr. Finch and Miss Petrova towards their waiting private dining room, leaving manager David to grapple, utterly alone, with the seismic shift he had just experienced. The consequences, as is often the case when corporate power is directly challenged, were swift, merciless, and profoundly impactful. The moment they stepped into the private room, the heavy oak door closing softly behind them, Mr. Finch made a discreet, yet undeniably firm, phone call. His voice, though low and measured, carried an unshakable resolve. "There was a situation at the Obsidian," he said into the phone, his words precise. "Unacceptable. I expect a full review of the incident and appropriate decisive action to be taken, starting at the top." Within a mere 24 hours, manager David was no longer employed by the Obsidian. The dismissal was quiet, efficient, and irreversible. Following this, a formal, deeply apologetic letter, personally signed by the CEO of Grand Vista Hotels, was dispatched to Dr. Sharma. The letter meticulously outlined a series of systemic fixes, mandatory diversity and inclusion training, immediately implemented for all staff across the entire chain, from top management down to every host and server, a comprehensive review and overhaul of their reservation and guest service protocols to eliminate any potential for bias, and a clear commitment to fostering a truly inclusive environment. The idea that bias costs 1B wasn't just a figure of speech or a vague corporate warning. The perception of discrimination, especially against a figure like Dr. Sharma, backed by powerful investors, could genuinely and irreparably damage the hotel chain's reputation, sever vital financial relationships, and ripple through their entire business model. This swift, decisive action served as irrefutable proof, a powerful testament that ends the excuse, forcing accountability and profound systemic change. This kind of justice, as Anya well knew, isn't always loud, dramatic, or publicly confrontational. More often than not, it is quiet, meticulously strategic, and deeply rooted in a profound understanding of how complex systems, be they corporate, social, or legal, actually work. It's about leveraging established policy, utilizing meticulous documentation as an impenetrable shield, and deploying the unexpected reveal of one's true competence and connections at the precise, most impactful moment. It's about cultivating less panic, more undeniable proof, and thus more genuine power. It's about playing the long game with quiet, deliberate force. Here's your 10-minute mini ritual, a practical, actionable guide designed to help you reclaim your agency, your dignity, and your power in those challenging moments of injustice and dismissal. 1. Centered breath in a quiet spot. 1 take 2 minutes. Before you step into any potentially charged situation, whether it's walking into a difficult meeting, approaching a customer service desk, or even preparing for a family disagreement, find a moment, even if it's just 30 to 60 seconds, to pause and recenter yourself. This might be in your car, a quiet hallway, or even a bathroom stall. Close your eyes if safe and possible. Breathe deeply, consciously, in through your nose, slow and steady, feeling your diaphragm expand. Hold for a count of 4. Then exhale slowly through your mouth, releasing any tension, any anticipated frustration. Repeat this 3 to 5 times. As you breathe, consciously feel your feet grounded on the floor, connecting you to the present moment, anchoring you. This isn't about ignoring the surge of emotion, the anger, the frustration, the fear, but about acknowledging it, then channeling that energy into focused resolve. It shifts you from a reactive emotional state to a proactive, intentional one. It's your internal calm before the storm, a declaration to yourself that you are in control of your inner landscape. Example: before addressing an issue with a flight attendant, take a moment in your seat, close your eyes, and take 3 deep, intentional breaths, feeling the seat beneath you. 2. Posture: tall, voice low, eyes steady, moment of engagement. Your physical presence speaks volumes before you utter a single word. Adopt a physical stance that radiates calm confidence, even if you don't fully feel it yet. Straighten your shoulders. Elevate your head to a level, neutral position, avoiding any defensive hunch or aggressive tilt. Plant your feet firmly, perhaps shoulder width apart, distributing your weight evenly. When you speak, ensure your voice is low, controlled, and even. A low, steady voice commands attention and conveys authority far more effectively than a raised, agitated one, which often signals a loss of control. Maintain consistent eye contact, not staring aggressively, but holding a steady, engaged gaze. This shows you are present, fully engaged in the conversation, and unflinching in your resolve. It projects integrity and self respect. Example: when addressing a dismissive sales associate, stand fully upright, meet their gaze, and calmly state, "I need assistance with this issue." 3. Open the policy note on phone. Prep a neutral phrase, preemptive and reactive. Before entering a situation, or the moment you feel a dismissal starting, have your go-to phrases ready. These are pre-formulated statements that are neutral, fact-based, and designed to shift the onus back onto the other party. Consider saving these in your phone's Notes app for quick access. Examples: "I'd like to speak with the supervisor regarding this, please. And could you provide me with a copy of your policy on specific issue?" Or, "Could you please explain which specific policy or regulation you're citing for this decision?" Or, "I have documentation that contradicts this. Would you like to review it?" Knowing these specific disarming phrases gives you immediate leverage. It moves the conversation from an emotional appeal to a factual, policy-driven one, which most organizations are structured to handle. It signals to the other person that you are informed and prepared. Example: as a gate agent denies boarding, pull up your Notes app and state, "I believe that contradicts your published boarding policy for premium members. Could you please clarify the specific clause you are referring to?" Found 4. Start witness mode. Camera ready. Time. Location. Noted. Documentation as deterrent. This step is not for confrontation in the moment, but for meticulous documentation, which serves as both a deterrent and irrefutable proof. Your smartphone camera can be discreetly ready to record audio or, if legally permissible and safe, video. Familiarize yourself with local laws regarding consent for recording conversations in public or private spaces. Even if you don't record, make mental or written notes. As soon as you perceive an issue, note the precise time, date, and specific location. Write down the names of people involved, if visible on badges, or at least clear descriptions of them. This transforms a subjective experience into an objective record. This information becomes your irrefutable proof, your concrete evidence, should you need to escalate the matter. This is how silent witnesses in the room, even if it's just your phone, can fundamentally change outcomes by having a documented record of events. Example: if a contractor refuses to honor a quote, discreetly start a voice recording on your phone. If legal, then clearly state, "For the record, it is time on date, and we are discussing project name at location." You are refusing the quote of amount and stating reason. The profound benefit of integrating this mini ritual into your life: it fundamentally shifts you from a reactive, often disempowered stance to a proactive, empowered one. It provides you with a clear actionable framework to navigate moments of injustice, transforming the amorphous anxiety of confrontation into the focused clarity of strategic action. It converts fear into clarity, and that clarity, undeniably, blossoms into leverage. It's about being prepared, not paranoid, resilient, not resigned. Always respect your limits. Your physical and psychological safety is paramount above all else. Avoid physical confrontation at all costs. These strategies are designed for verbal and systemic challenges, not for situations where your personal safety is compromised. Document thoroughly and escalate issues through proper established channels: HR, corporate complaint departments, regulatory bodies. Remember, laws and policies vary significantly by location, organization, and context. So, it's crucial to adapt your approach and research what is permissible and effective in your specific circumstances. If you ever feel in immediate danger, your priority must always be safety. Seek help from authorities or trusted individuals immediately. These steps are about asserting dignity within a structured ethical framework, not about placing yourself at undue risk or engaging in reckless behavior. You possess this power. It resides within you, waiting to be acknowledged and honed. You have an inherent right to dignity, to respect, and to fair, equitable treatment. You have the right and indeed the responsibility to challenge bias, to confront injustice, and to refuse to be diminished. The next time you face that moment of indignity, that subtle erosion of your spirit, choose your response, choose your power, and in choosing your power, choose your profound peace. Your challenge, should you choose to accept it, today, pick one action, just one small brave step from this ritual. Perhaps you'll commit to saving those crucial policy numbers or that calm, assertive phrase in your phone for quick access. Maybe you'll dedicate those 10 minutes to practicing that centering breath and tall posture before your next challenging interaction. Or perhaps you'll consciously make a mental note of the time, date, and description of a person who has dismissed you, even in a small way. Take that small, brave, conscious step. Tell me, what empowering action will you choose to start today? And what's the next scenario, the next pervasive injustice you want us to tackle and dissect together, empowering us all with new strategies? Share it in the comments below. We're in this together, and together, with courage, clarity, and competence, we can make big deals and even bigger dignity, not just possible, but inevitable.